You know what the hottest thing on the market is right now? It is lithium and solar packages so you can camp anywhere. And that's what we're going to talk about today is what's the best, how to put it together, and we have guests from Renogy here. So if you've got questions about solar and lithium and what it will do, what it won't do, listen up. We got the experts. Welcome to the RV Small Talk podcast, where we talk about lightweight truck campers, lightweight trailers and truck campers, and the people, places, and adventures that go right along with them. We are your hosts from Princess Craft RV. I'm PJ.
I'm Cody.
And we have guests from Renogy. So you guys introduce yourselves.
Definitely. So my name is Steven. I'm with Renogy. I've been with the company for 8 years, and I'm all about solar, all about off-grid living. I do a little bit on off-grid living on my personal life. So living the life, living in the industry and love it every day.
So it is you inside and out.
100%. Renewable energy, camping, being outdoors, I love it. I'm very hands-on as well, DIY. So my wife and I bought a transit van. We did the full conversion ourselves. So really hands-on.
Oh, you're one of those guys.
I am, yes.
All right.
Those guys.
Did you say your name? Because I might have missed it.
Yeah, my name is Steven.
Steven, you did say your name. Sorry.
No, you're good.
And
my name is Mike, and I am the sales manager for Renogy. And it's exciting to be here. My industry, my background, I've been in the RV business for over 25 years, specifically in the aftermarket. I've sold everything from backup cameras to vent pillows to sewer hoses and almost everything in between. And now we're into the new renewable energy, the off-grid solution market. And I tell you, this is the future, and things just keep getting better and better. And Renogy is absolutely taking care of everybody on this. I mean, being a one-stop shop, having every single product and every component that's needed to make your systems, work.
okay, so I have to say, just right off the bat, guys, we have the talking head and we have the lifestyle guy. Okay?
Yeah.
Right? And you were selling right off the bat. So
That's what I do.
I know. Sometimes it just falls out, doesn't it?
It just does. It's just my nature. I have been an RVer since I was 5 years old.
Uh-huh.
So it is my lifestyle. I'm still an RVer. I still own a travel trailer. I don't own a little travel trailer. I have a big travel trailer, but I'm still in the market. I'm still out there. So yeah, it's in my blood too.
Well, we could help you get in something smaller,
Yeah, it's kind of what we do too.
Yeah.
So I'm a talking head as well, if you didn't know. It's what comes naturally sometimes for people, right?
Yep.
Okay, well, we're just going to jump right into the discussion at hand because, wow, there is so much to cover when you're talking about lithium, talking about inverters, how much solar do you need, what will it do, where will you go, how do you do it, and then I think when you go to look at an RV, and this is where I want to start, because if anybody has been shopping, this is the experience that they've had. They're looking at an RV and somebody says, yeah, and you've got 120 watts of solar on the top of this one. And everybody's like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah, let's go.
What does that mean? Yeah, I could burn everything.
But what exactly is that? So can we start, just for people who aren't extremely knowledgeable, what are the parts we're talking about here? I mean, is a solar panel enough? What are all the parts that go into these systems that people have for energy?
Of course, yeah. So, I mean, it's like opening Pandora's box once you get into the solar and off-grid lifestyle, especially when you're looking into these RVs. So it's not just the solar panel. The solar panel is going to generate the energy, but at the same time, there's a lot of other components that are going to go in line as well. So the battery, of course, the solar panel is basically a battery charger. It's going to be able to produce energy when you have sunlight and send a charge down to that battery. Now, there's also a device in line that's called a charge controller. it's the brain of the solar system. It's going to be able to regulate what's coming in from that solar panel and make sure it's sending a safe charge to that lithium battery. So those three components is really what you need for a solar system. But at the same time, you're not just going to be charging that battery, then the inverter comes in handy. You want to have that inverter. It's converting your electricity from the battery so you could run your household appliances through that inverter. So basic system is going to be solar panel, charge controller, battery, and an inverter.
So isn't it cool to get a travel trailer that has a solar panel?
It is. And now that solar panel, like what's it going to generate? What am I going to be able to do with that solar panel? That's really the biggest question. And it depends on what is going to be coming out of that. What's going to be coming out of that system? It's basically, what are we trying to get out of that system? 120 watt solar panels, it's a trickle charger. It's going to be able to really charge that battery a little bit, but it's not going to run air conditioners. It's not going to run, all your household appliances. It's more just going to send a charge to that battery bank and make sure that it's ready to go and maintain that battery. To use higher loads and air conditioners, you're going to need a little bit bigger battery bank.
Well, I think when most people are shopping for an RV, nobody says, and it has a really big battery on it, and this one comes with lithium. They just say, cool, it's got a 120 watt solar panel on it. And so I think people think, oh, that's cool, I can go off grid, when reality, that's not enough.
It's not enough.
So let's talk about batteries.
Okay.
So, because I know, Cody, that's a question you get a lot about batteries.
Yep.
And when people are asking you, what's their biggest concern?
Biggest concern is generally, how long can I run? They want to know what they can run and how long they can run. And that is always I always like to refer to it as an intimate conversation. What do you want to run? What do you want to do with this? Mm-hmm. And then it's kind of like, in my mind, it's kind of like building a custom home. A lot of times you go in, they spec it out exactly the way you want it, and then you dial it back to reality, right? Mm-hmm. So what do you want to do? And then let's figure out what we can in reality do. Mm-hmm. Is generally where I like to have those conversations. So I can build a system that, first of all, will fit and then try to accommodate what they want to do. But the batteries is a big part of it, because we got to figure out how many amp hours they need to run the appliances and the lights and the other items that they want to run.
Mm-hmm.
So, Mike, how many different kinds of batteries does Renogy sell?
We actually sell virtually every kind of battery. We do, AGM batteries, we do lead acid batteries, we do lithium batteries. But what we're finding in the RV market is the lithium battery is by far our biggest seller now. Everybody needs, weight is so important. So they're lighter weight, they're smaller in size, and they have more power. It's the trifecta. They do everything we need them to do in the RV marketplace, and they do it well.
And they're stupid expensive.
No. Not like they used to be.
Yeah.
They are definitely.
Okay, so yeah.
Pricing is coming down.
Yes.
A jet is less expensive than it used to be, but it's still out of my price range. Okay? Okay, let's have it. So lithium has become kind of the thing. What are the technicalities of the difference of lithium and a standard battery, which is what we call a wet cell battery, the kind that you pop the cap off and you put the water in. A lot of people younger than me, which is a lot of people, don't remember pulling the cap off and putting water in your car battery. Yeah. Because we generally don't have to do that anymore.
No. And the biggest difference, those are still around. You can still find those batteries, adding the water, making sure that they're maintained. The biggest difference now is the longevity of these batteries and the usage you're going to get out of them. Those older batteries, they were great, but you're only going to get so many cycles, so much life out of it until it's depleted and you're not going to be able to use it anymore.
Stephen, real quick, explain what a cycle is on a battery. I don't think whenever we say cycles, I don't think people understand what a cycle is.
Understood.
So explain a cycle.
Yeah. So a cycle is basically complete when your battery's at 100% and you drain it down to its threshold and then recharge it. One big thing about the cycles on your wet cell batteries is it has a depth of discharge, which is 50%.
Ooh, a death of discharge.
Depth
Of discharge. I was like, whoa, what a term.
There's a P in there.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Not depth.
It is definitely death to a wet cell battery too. Though.
Yeah. So
Okay.
So what that means is basically when you have a wet cell battery, if it's rated at 100 amp hours, realistically, you can only drain that battery down to 50%. So that 100 amp hour batteries, in theory, is actually a 50 amp hour battery.
Well, that stinks.
Yeah, that does stink. And not a lot of people know that. And they'll still discharge that battery down to 100%. And now that battery that was supposed to last 500 cycles is going to be down to 200 cycles, 100 cycles. And
But aren't deep cycle marine batteries made to deplete and be able to charge back? I thought that was the point of a deep cycle marine battery as opposed to an automotive battery.
that is correct. Yeah, automotive batteries are going to be your cold cranking amp batteries. So high amount of power for a short period of time. Your alternator kicks in, and then the alternator is keeping that battery charged up. Deep cycle batteries are a little bit different. You're going to have a slow charge, slow discharge. AGM gel batteries, seal lead acid batteries, even your wet cells that are rated for deep cycle, they are able to do that, but you still have that 50% depth of discharge, and that has to do with the actual chemistry of those cells. Now, with lithium, they actually can be discharged all the way down to 80, 90% depth of discharge, and you're going to be able to really get the maximum amp hours out of that battery, and it's not going to deplete it, and it's not going to affect the life cycles as much. So instead of that battery getting 2 or 3 years of life, now you're getting 10, 15 years of life, and upfront, it's a bigger investment, but in the long run, it's the smarter investment.
Okay, so do you mind if I take just a hot minute to dumb this down? Because you and I have been dealing with this for a lot of years.
Mm-hmm.
You talk really smart, really fast. All of the technical people out there, they got that. And the rest of us maybe didn't.
Okay.
So the lithium battery, you can use 80 to 90% of it, right?
That is correct.
And if you get a wet cell battery, which you called old style, but I'll tell you folks, that is 95% of the batteries that are in the new RVs that you're picking up at your dealer.
Yeah,
That's true.
They're putting in wet cell standard batteries. And they might even say something, ours are really good. They have a 2-year warranty. They're an interstate or something. They're still a wet cell battery.
That is correct. Yep.
And 1 to 2 years is kind of a standard lifestyle for a wet cell battery if you take care of it.
Mm-hmm. If you take care
of it.
Which means you put distilled water in each one of those 6 little holes in it, and you can't overfill them, and you can't let them go dry.
Mm-hmm.
And it's different than a car. You used to check the water in your battery in a car, every year? Every 6 months, maybe?
You would have to give
most?
that information.
Yeah, I know. But in an RV, if you're camping regularly, you want to check it almost every time you go out. I mean, you need to check it every couple months to be sure it's not going dry, to keep your battery going. And still, you're only using 50% of that battery.
Yep. And those batteries are going to be double, triple the weight of the lithium
They're
batteries.
heavy.
They're heavy.
Yes.
And a lot of them are difficult to get to.
Yep.
That's the thing. We deal in a lot of small campers.
We do.
And they put them sometimes in the worst places, and they put them there because they have to,
Right.
because you don't have a lot of options.
Yep.
Right? Okay. So that's the standard. That is what almost everybody uses out there unless you have upgraded. Now, there are some manufacturers that will put lithium in, but you got to look for it and you got to ask.
That is correct. Yep.
So a lithium battery, how much more do you think a lithium battery costs than a wet cell battery?
On retail, I mean, it's going to be anywhere from 2.5 times more, I would say.
Yeah, 2 to 3 times more
Yeah.
than a standard battery.
Yep.
But I tell you what we do here is that if people want to upgrade to lithium, we give them credit for the brand new wet cell battery that would go in their camper. Because here we don't charge for batteries and propane like a lot of people do. So it's part of the cost of the camper. You got to have a battery. So we give them credit for that, and that goes towards their lithium, which makes it a little more cost effective if you buy it right up front. So a little tip for those folks who want to upgrade right out of the chute. Now, there's another battery that for a hot minute was really popular, and that's the AGM batteries.
Yep.
Yep.
because they're cheaper than lithium, they're more expensive, and they are a closed cell battery.
Yes.
So explain to me the goods and bads of the AGM. What is it? Glass mat at
Absorbed glass mat.
absorbed glass mat,
Yeah.
AGM batteries, which is kind of the in between lithium and wet cell.
Yeah, and you got your gel batteries as well. They kind of fall under
Gel
that.
batteries, kind of that same thing.
Yeah, they're in that same category. They're very similar to your wet cells, but now they're actually sealed. So you don't have to do any kind of maintenance. They're very safe. They're not going to emit any kind of off-gassing. So you can have them inside your living quarters. And
Which you can't do with a wet cell battery.
correct, yeah.
They have to be vented to the outside because they
Produce hydrogen gas.
Yep. You don't want to be, that carbon monoxide will get to you. So you don't want that coming.
Nope.
So yeah, I mean, they're really good. We still offer AGM and gel batteries from Renogy. They're still one of our top sellers, you know. They have their benefits, but at the same time, lithium is still going to be the better bang for the buck overall.
So what are their benefits?
Yeah. So the
Why would you want one?
Upfront, the cost is definitely going to be a little bit cheaper than your lithium battery. The other factor is in like cold conditions, they are able to run a little bit more stable than your lithium batteries. Lithium batteries, if they get into a freezing condition under like 32 degrees Fahrenheit, they're not going to accept a charge. So lithium cells aren't designed. I'm sorry, they're not able to actually accept any kind of charge. So typically you need some kind of heating element or heater with that lithium battery to utilize that battery in a freezing condition. Other than that, I would say lithium definitely has all of the other highlights and benefits. It's still going to have more cycles. Your AGM gel is about 500 cycles, where our lithium batteries are going to give you 5,000 to 6,000 cycles.
So like 100 times longer?
100 times longer. That is correct.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I knew it was more, but
Like
I
the
didn't think
math
it was
just all of a
100.
sudden math.
Well, we're
100%.
talking 2 zeros here. I was expecting one. Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, it's no, it's 2 to 3 times more of a cost, but you're getting 100 times more usage. You know, I'd rather spend a little bit more up front and be able to have that much more life overall, you know?
So you talked about using 80 to 90% of lithium or 50% of a standard battery.
Yes.
Where does AGM fall in that?
The same 50%.
Same 50%.
That is correct. Yep.
Does it last longer than a wet cell?
I wouldn't say it lasts longer. It's just easier to maintain. It's not going to lose the water. You don't have to top it off. It's all completely sealed, so it's not going to have those same maintenance that your wet seal would have. That's kind of the only difference. It's just sealed. Otherwise, it's still going to be a deep cycle battery with your wet cells. Is just a sealed battery at that point.
And my understanding is it's just a little bit more expensive instead of a lot more expensive. And I know this is general terms but there are all different price ranges of things.
Correct.
But it is cheaper than lithium, more expensive than a standard battery.
Yeah.
So the reason to get AGM is because you don't have to mess with it. You can put it inside and
It's a little less expensive
And a
than
little
lithium.
less.
and it's less expensive.
It's a good interim, if you're going from your wet cell battery and it's like, I don't know about lithium yet. It definitely is a nice little, step to have get you into that feeling to get to that next step of lithium.
Well, I tell you what, if I was looking for a battery that I didn't have to worry about, I would want one that lasts 100 times longer. I'm going to repeat that 1,000 times.
Please do.
Yeah.
I'm going to add one more zero and repeat it that many times
100 times sounds
boy.
great.
because that's a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, wow. What kind of cost are we talking about for a 100 amp lithium battery?
Sure. I'll leave that to Mike. I'm not too sure on the.
So you're going to find there's a really wide price range when it comes to lithium batteries.
Okay.
The Renogy 100 amp hour lithium battery, which is our core battery, our Pro Series battery, retails for about $600 now. And just 2 or 3 years ago, that could have been $1,000 battery. I mean, prices are definitely fluctuating, but they're leveling off. And it's becoming much, the pricing is becoming more usable for the everyday user can actually have it into their price point now.
Mm-hmm.
So when people come in, Cody, and ask about a battery,
Yep.
what's important to them? Is cost the number one problem?
I think typically, cost becomes a big factor whenever you tell them this. You need 300 amp hours to do what you want to do, and it's $1,000 a battery. I mean, that's $3,000 out of the gate just in batteries before we get to the rest of the system. So having the battery cost come down overall, I think is going to be super beneficial. I think that our customers will be typically more inclined to entertain the idea of going that direction versus staying with the standard batteries. Absolutely.
Okay. Is there a difference? I'm going to save that question for just a minute because I want to move on. You talked about all the different things there are. There's solar panels. There is the batteries. There's the charge controller.
The inverters.
Charge controller is a charge controller is a charge controller. Is that right?
That's not right. So
okay.
that's
I'm not right.
That's a good segue. So there's going to be definitely a more cost efficient charge controller on the market, and definitely a more higher price, controller on the market.
What would it do differently?
The main difference is the efficiency. The efficiency rating on these controllers. So I'll start with the lower efficient, more cost-friendly unit. It's going to be the PWM charge controller. It stands for pulse width modulation. All you really got to know is those units are about 70 to about 80% efficient. So in essence, if you're hooking up one 100-watt solar panel to this charge controller, in perfect ideal sunlight conditions, you're max going to get 70 to 80 watts out of that solar system because of the efficiency of the charge controller. It's limiting the maximum output of that solar panel. Now, the next step up is going to be the MPPT charge controller. It stands for Max Power Point Tracking. This unit is definitely more efficient. You're seeing about 90 to 95% efficiency. So now you're hooking up that same 100-watt solar panel to this charge controller. You're getting closer to that 100 watts. You're getting 90 to 95 watts out of that system. So you're really utilizing the solar panel, and you're not losing wattage right off the bat. So just a more efficient system. It's going to be able to charge the batteries more effectively, and also be better in like low light conditions. It's just the way to go for these systems.
What I've noticed on our lot is that if somebody is looking at a entry-level trailer or even a medium price trailer, then it's going to have a standard charge controller in there. It's going to do everything it needs to do. And you're telling me it's only able to charge with 70 to 80% of whatever that solar panel can produce.
That is correct.
Okay. I will tell you, all of the overland and the higher end trailers are going to have the MPPT controller in it.
Yep.
They all do. So that is a good question to ask is, when you're putting a system together, I'm sure, Cody, you're looking at what charge controller to put in, because that's going to let you know how quickly we're going to be able to recharge these batteries.
That's definitely a big part of it. The other part of it is generally when you get over about 3 panels, most of the systems are going to almost force you to an MPPT just for capacity purposes. Okay. So a lot of units come with a PWM style controller from the factory, probably because of cost, and the max that most of those can handle is 30 amps, which is about 3 panels for most systems. So anything above that generally forces us to an MPPT anyway, just because of science.
Yep.
Okay. So we've talked about the solar panel, we've talked about the controller, and we've talked about the battery. The last piece that is very often in these systems is going to be an inverter. And folks, we're not talking about the converter that's in every trailer that is going to take that shore power and turn it into battery power and trickle charge your battery. We are talking the opposite.
Yep.
It goes the other way.
Yep.
So your battery is actually going to provide shore power.
Correct.
So tell me about that. What are the differences? How many different levels are there? The cost? Give me the lowdown.
Of course. Yeah. So just like any of our components, everything's very scalable. We have small units, and we have large units. Our smallest inverter that we offer is going to be 700 watts. And then our largest inverter is going to be 3,000 watts. And then we have a 1,000 and 2,000 watt inverter in between. The reason why they're different ratings is basically, what are you trying to run through this inverter? What are you plugging into in the inverter, and how much wattage is it actually pulling? when you're plugging in TVs, cell phone chargers, laptop chargers, the very low wattage components, you can get away with like a 700 watt inverter and the system's going to run perfectly fine. Now you start getting into the bigger components, your air conditioners, your heaters, your microwave,
blow dryers.
I want to have a blow dryer and a blender.
Yeah, your kids.
That is my camping.
Your kids with their video
Do
game
your hair
systems.
and have a margarita.
Actually, only one of those I need. Guess which one?
The margarita.
You're so smart. I knew I liked you, Mike.
Look at me go.
Yeah, so I mean, with all of those components, running them at once, you're at the mercy now of your battery bank and the inverter of what's running it. You're not plugging into the wall and just getting a bill at the end of the month. Now you're really dependent on what that inverter is. If you have too small of an inverter, it's going to pop an error and say, I can't run that much. So once you start getting into more loads, like, oh, cool, I want to run, A, B, C, and D. It's going to run somewhere around 2,700 watts collectively. You're going to want a 3,000 watt inverter because now if I need to turn everything on, I have the battery capacity to do it. I am able to do it. I could run my heater, at the same time I'm making coffee, at the same time that Jimmy is over there playing his PlayStation. So it really gives you the mindset of, okay, cool. It's what am I trying to get out of the system? What am I trying to run in the system? And then we kind of pick the inverter for you. Cool. 700 watts going to be good for you. You don't need to throw the largest inverter at these systems. Each inverter does have a self-consumption. So that basically means just being on. Self-consumption.
I am loving all the words. Self-consumption. There's something wrong with that.
Yeah. So basically that just means just being on, not even running anything, it's going to discharge the battery a little bit. Just a little,
just because it is up and ready.
Yep. And then the smaller inverters have less self-discharge. The larger inverters are going to have more of a discharge. So just throwing the largest inverter is always not the best route.
It could hurt you because it's using up some of your battery power.
Well, not just being on. It's going to be
just being there.
Yeah, correct. So
just existing.
So that's always a good mindset that we like to keep to everybody. Like, oh, you don't want the largest and biggest. Sometimes people think, I want the most expensive, largest, biggest. No, let's try.
Right.
Let's try to get, what's
go big or go home.
Let's get the biggest, whatever we have, let's throw it in there. No, but.
Okay. So I know the next question that is on everyone's mind who is listening to this, and that is who, what, when, and where, what can run what, really? What do I really need? Because somebody who loves this stuff, who is engineer minded, has already got this all figured out, and they will love the math. They will love the research. I'm not that guy. Mm-hmm. And most of our customers are not as well. They want to know, what do I need if I want to X? The one thing that I know, or one of the things I know, I should say, is that air conditioners, the struggle that we have is because they pull so much power when they start. Now, to run them is not that bad, but to start them is a lot of power. Mm-hmm. And the same with the microwave, which is why, camping off grid has been a struggle for many, many decades. And we're just now figuring out how to generate enough power to be able to do that with air conditioner and everything else. So let's talk reality here. I want to camp off the grid. I'm going for the weekend. I have a 24-foot trailer.
Okay.
I have one air conditioner. It's 13.5 BTU, just standard boilerplate trailer. And it might get cold at night, but I definitely need to run my air conditioner sometimes too. And, I've got a coffee pot, maybe a little toaster oven. I need to charge my computer. I don't know. It sounds like a lot. Am I going to need a massive system to be able to camp for the weekend in the middle of nowhere?
Sure. I mean, that's a pretty open-ended question. It really just depends on what all of those devices are going to run, how long you're running them for, so on and so forth.
Now you're making me think too hard.
Yep. And unfortunately, I wish I had a straight answer for that. A 600 watt kit, 400 amp hour battery. It's not like that. What we would recommend is finding out what the customer needs, getting.
Yeah, I just told you. I thought I just told you.
See, here we are building the house.
Yep.
Here's the schematic, and now let's dial back to reality.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
You could go all the way to the end of the road and build this huge thing. Okay, let's dial it back. I need that air conditioner to run. I'm in stinking Texas and it's hot. Okay. I need my coffee pot to run. I would like to be able to charge my computer. Everything else, I would love to be able to do, but if I can't, I can work around it. But those three things I have to have.
Perfect. I mean, what I would recommend in a system like that, we have our it's a 12 volt, 400 amp hour battery. So in theory, that's 12 volts times 400 amp hours to get your watt hour rating. So it's actually a 5,000 watt hour battery. So what does that mean? I actually have 5,000 watt hours of usable capacity in that battery. Typically, your air conditioners are going to pull like 1,500 watts. So that means 5,000, I subtract 1,500 watts, and I could kind of see how much, or divide, I can see how many hours I'm going to be able to run that air conditioner off this big battery. Realistically, it's going to be about 3 hours off of one battery. That's not realistic, So what we would recommend is somewhere around 2 to 3 of these large batteries, and then somewhere around like a 600 to 800 watt solar kit to really replenish that. Now, like I said, there's a lot of other factors. We have other components on the market too, like a DC to DC charger that you can actually charge your house battery when you're driving from your starter battery. So it will actually patch into the starting system. It'll use some of the power from the alternator, and it would charge up that house battery bank if necessary. So there's other options, and that's basically using your car as like a gas generator if solar isn't keeping up.
Okay.
So
we'll circle back to that because we don't want it to be coming.
That's my favorite feature.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? I think DC, we won't circle back. We're going to jump in both feet. I think DC to DC chargers are going to be like solar panels were 5 years ago. They were a like super cool, really unusual thing,
Yep.
Now solar panels are a no big deal. Everybody kind of expects one. Yep. It is kind of on everything. And DC to DC chargers you see on off-road vehicles and very occasionally on high-end units that have off-grid capabilities. And it's a separate plug that you plug in to your camper. So you have the standard plug, and then you have another DC to DC charger, which is just wiring with a plug that connects. And my understanding is all that does is provide like what I would call a supercharge to charge your battery really fast.
Yep. And I mean, typical applications will have that 7-pin with like a 10 amp trickle charger, which is nice. It'll you'll get a little bit of charge. This DC to DC charger, we offer 20 amp, 40 amp, 50 amp, and 60 amp. So it's a pretty hefty charge going to that battery bank.
Yes.
If we do our math, if we do 60 amps multiplied by 12 volts, it's in theory 720 watts. So instead of having 700 watt panels on my roof, I could have this small component, and as long as I'm driving down the road, I'm going to be sending 720 watts of energy to my battery bank, which is
a lot
of power.
A lot of power. So you can charge it up really quick.
That is correct.
Is it feasible to say that if you were running out of power and you had that, you could turn on your vehicle, let it idle for 20, 30 minutes and recharge your batteries?
100%. I have this system in my van that my wife and I are building. And what we'll do when we turn on our air conditioner, we'll actually turn on the DC to DC charger, and it will actually supplement for some of that discharge. You're using it as a gas generator at that point.
Right. So it's charging the battery's running the air conditioner.
That is correct.
Okay. So I want to go right back because we kind of flew right past it.
I like to do
my
that,
question.
yeah.
I know, me too. Me too. I'm pretty impressed with my staying on track today. So
it's because Clint and Lindsay aren't here.
I know. No, less distractions.
That's right.
Less shiny things. Okay, so air conditioner, coffee pot, and
Computer charging.
Charging my computer.
Yep.
Because I got to see what's going on at Princess Craft.
Yep.
So if I had two 400 amp hour batteries, how big of an inverter would you recommend?
Something like that, especially with running that amount of appliances, would be like a 3,000 watt inverter.
A 3,000 watt inverter.
Yes.
And how many batteries?
That would be two. I would say 2 batteries would be a good starting
the two
point.
400
The
amp
two
hour
400s,
batteries,
Yep.
300. And then you said like 800 watts of solar.
Yeah.
That'd cover the whole roof of a 24-foot trailer.
That is correct. And at that point, I mean, our mindset on the Renogy side is, in one day, can we replenish that battery? You know, you're going to use the battery throughout the day, especially when solar is replenishing that battery. But then you're going to have that chunk at night that you're getting no solar. So now you're discharging that battery bank. And then when the sun comes back up in the morning, you know, you want that to replenish that battery. So the next night it's back up to 100% and ready to go. So that's what we
So
try.
it is one night's worth.
Not one night's worth. It's more of just continuous, you know? So every morning you're getting back up. It might be at 80%. Then you're going to replenish that other 20%, you know, throughout
Or it
the
might
day.
be at 40%, but then I got the day to get it back up.
That is correct. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm just trying to get a feel for it. Now, if I'm a customer and I want to figure out what system to use, how do I do that? How does Renogy help me?
Definitely. I mean, we've put together a lot of different specialized kits, especially for different RVs and different trailers. So we have specific kits that fit specific sizes. So depending on one big thing you got to remember is we're at the mercy of the footprint and how much space we have in these trailers. So we have different kits that really pertain to the size available and what you're trying to run out of it. So I would recommend, going on our website. We have a lot of information about, specific cabin kits or RV kits, trailer kits, marine kits. There's so many different options, we can go with so many different off-grid scenarios, and we offer a little bit of everything. We actually have a really cool super calculator too. If you go on our website and you can start putting in, my blow dryer, my TV for a couple hours, and it will populate a recommended estimated size of a system as well.
Okay. So at the risk of sounding like a dumb blonde, if I am not engineer minded, and I am not technically understanding every single piece of this equipment, I can go on there and get an idea by checking the boxes and saying, I want this, this, and this. And it will tell me what system will run that.
That is correct. Yep.
And then if I say, okay, well, I don't want to pay that much, I want less.
Yeah.
I can uncheck the boxes and it'll adjust. Is that actually how it works?
That is correct. Yeah.
All right. So, Mike, is it really that easy?
From what they tell me. Yeah.
From what they tell me.
I don't want to know what they tell you. I want to know what's really true.
No, yes, it is. I've actually used it, so I have gone to that point. No, it is that simple. You're gonna take it, what you're gonna do on a daily basis, and you're gonna kind of guesstimate what you want it to have it do for you. And by the time it's done, that the calculator will figure out and says you need basically this many panels for your roof, this many amp hours of battery, and you'll be able to run the system that you need to get you through your daily routine.
And if you don't want to do that, just come and talk to Cody, and he's a super calculator as well.
Cody, do you feel like a super calculator today?
I don't know about that, but
There has been a lot
super
of math.
something.
We have built so many of these systems, big and small. It has been really amazing to see what you guys have put together. But I have one last question until I think of another one. And it's the big one that I've been saving till the end. Are you ready?
Dun, dun, dun.
Give it to us. Let us have it.
Why Renogy? There is all kinds of things out there. Yeah, I thought of one more, sorry. But all kinds of systems out there. Why Renogy? What does Renogy do that's so much better than anybody else?
One thing about Renogy is we are a one-stop shop. We make the batteries, we make the panels, we make the controllers, we make the charge controller, we make the DC to DC, and so many other companies out there. It's a hodgepodge. You can get into some of these brand new RVs. You're looking at $100,000 fifth wheel comes in, and it's got a pre-existing solar system, and it's got 5 different companies' products in there. So what happens down the road is, there's an issue. What am I going to do? So they look at it. So, here's this company. Here's this company, and everybody starts playing each other against everybody. It's a warranty nightmare. Because everybody's going to say, it's not my product. It must be his product. It's not my, and they're just battling it back and forth. With us, we make all the components. We are a one-stop shop. So if there's an issue, we've got an amazing team that can help you troubleshoot it, get it fixed, and get you back on the road on the spot. And we don't have to sit there and blame other people for maybe something that didn't work the way that it was supposed to. One thing we do find is that a majority of the time, it's not the product, it's something that may happen in the programming. And a lot of our new product are so easy because we've just put a dial instead of a push button little computer screen trying to fine tune every little nook and cranny. Now it's just a dial. I have a lithium battery. I have an AGM battery. Whatever it happens to be, we've made it super, super simple for the consumer to use our product and virtually have no issues.
But do you have an 800 number that someone always answers? Because that's what I want if I'm buying electronics.
Yes, we do have an 800 number that everybody always uses.
Yep.
And even if I have a dealer put it all in, if I'm on the road and I have a question, can I just call you?
Yes, you can. You can give us a holler. And if I had the number written down in front of me, I would tell you exactly what it is right now.
That's all right. People can look it up.
Wait, there's more. You can call the number at the bottom of your screen right now.
We'll put it in the show notes. Of course, you guys know that. It's in the notes. But yeah, I mean, and that isn't rehearsed. I just want to know because that is a real frustration for us here at the dealership. And when we have products and we can't get we can't get help.
So our support, we had our support that was overseas for a while for the RV community. We've brought all of our support into the U.S. So all of your customer service calls, all of the technicians that need information, all of that information now comes directly to our main offices in Ontario, California. We have 5 gentlemen that answer the phone, that answer emails on the spot as I'm bang, bang, bang. And they not only understand what the black box does, but they understand the application. They understand how it's used in an RV, not just what the box does. And in turn, that makes it a lot easier for the consumer to work with us, and a lot easier for the RV dealer and such to work with us also.
Cool. So we can all call that 800 number.
Absolutely.
You heard that, Cody.
Yes, I did.
Yep.
So, Cody, has that been your experience?
With Renogy? We, not in the past, but going forward, I'm looking forward to, if we have an issue, being able to get in touch with somebody on the U.S. team. So, yeah, I think that's going to be a great move on Renogy's part. And that was one of the big conversations that we had with these guys multiple times was about U.S.-based support, because we've got customers that need it. Whether just understanding the equipment or troubleshooting for us.
We need it.
We need it sometimes.
It's huge. I mean, we understand completely. One big thing that COVID affected a lot of companies, and probably just like you guys, everybody was buying solar stuff during COVID.
That's right.
So we started outsourcing some of our departments, customer service, because we needed to. We didn't have the manpower to do it here.
Right.
Now we're realizing we lost some of our customer service. We lost our bread and butter, what made Renogy what Renogy is. I've been in the company for almost 10 years now. And what we have always done is listen to our customers, be there to support, make sure that we're not just giving you, these products, but we're providing you the information, and we're providing you what is actually happening in these systems. A lot of the times when we get calls and it's like, oh, my system's not working, it's not doing what it's supposed to do, it's more of an educational, procedure at that point.
Oh, we find that here as well.
9 times out of 10, it's operational.
100%. Yep. So we love providing that education. We love supporting, and I feel 100% confident that moving forward, it's just going to continue to get better and better and better. Our CEO is very aware of, kind of the fallback that we had, and it's one of the main pillars starting this year. We're providing our support, safety. We're making sure all our products are safe. They're all UL certified. We're going through RVIA to make sure they're all RVIA standard. So we're not just saying, oh, we screwed up and we're going to keep screwing up. We're kind of owning it, and at the same time, we are addressing it, and we're making improvements, and we're excited. We really are. This is a big market, and we're excited to continue teaching and working with, our partners and getting everybody on that solar train. It's exciting.
Great news.
Well, I have to say, you guys have come out here and spent the day with us and trained every department from sales to service to parts to everybody in between.
And troubleshooting is fun.
Yeah, and some troubleshooting on some units that we had. I appreciate that. And I will say it is the third time you visited us.
Yep.
So I appreciate the support from you guys. I really, really do. That makes a huge difference for us because we have access to a lot of different solar companies too, a lot of different battery companies. And people go from these companies that have gotten into the solar lithium game, they either focus on putting it out there for consumer purchase and on Amazon, or they try to get with the manufacturers and just put it on trailers that are coming from the factory. Very few companies really focus hard on the dealer and try to cover all the bases. So that being said, my last question that I thought of is do-it-yourselfers. I mean, that is the first thing that almost every person thinks of when they think about adding solar. Well, I can mount that on the roof. I mean, how hard can this be?
I'm only drilling holes in my roof. I mean, it's not going to leak.
Yeah.
Well,
Never.
I mean, I am all for do-it-yourself.
RVs don't leak.
There's nothing wrong with it. I mean, it isn't like as a dealership, we are trying to talk people out of it. I got no problem with it. I mean, there's some of that in all of us.
Of course.
My question is it really as easy as it seems? And how much support does Renogy have for that? Because I can imagine that people listening to this podcast are not listening because they want to figure out what dealer to take it to.
Of course.
So how hard is it? How much support do you have for those folks? How well is the do-it-yourselfer going to fare with Renogy?
Definitely. So I can answer that one. I mean, we made our bread and butter with the do-it-yourself community in the last 8 years, 14 years, 8 years since I've been here. And we make sure that all of our products are pretty DIY friendly. That doesn't mean everybody is DIY friendly. So we do make it very simple, but at the same time, you have to have some kind of understanding about what you're doing. If you're drilling in the holes, you got to know how to use a drill. If you're playing with electricity, you got to know what's electrical, some kind of Ohm's law or some kind of background about what you're doing. I'm a very do-it-yourself person, but I went to school. I have my degree in automotive technology. I've been messing with electrical stuff since I was a kid. So when I started getting into this before I worked at Renogy, I had a little bit of background. So I kind of had a stepping stone. Now, when it comes to plumbing, I'm never going to try to do any yourself plumbing. Water scares me. I'm not going to mess with that. I'm going to spend as much money as I can to get the plumber because I don't know anything and I'm not going to even try.
I don't know anything either, but I would do plumbing before I do electrical all day long. I mean, the worst that can happen is you get wet, right?
Wet and everything else gets wet.
Yeah.
Now,
still, it's less scary than this, but I know a lot of people think it can't be that hard. Continue. I'm sorry I interrupted.
No, you're good. Now, at the same time, we provide support. We have our customer support team here in Ontario, California. We actually have a lot of people that come into our warehouse with their rigs, and they're like, what's going on? What's going on? And we'll come, we'll show them, and like I said, it'll be a learning experience. We'll learn about how they're using their system, how they're using it in a real world application, and then we'll teach them what they're looking at and what they're seeing. We also have very easy companion apps. So your smartphone, now we have a nice app. Everything's Bluetooth compatible. So you can see exactly what's happening in your system. You don't have to be an electrician and know, okay, I'm at 13.4 volts. That means I'm at like 80%. No, it's going to tell you're at 85%. You could run whatever you're running for 7 more hours. So we have very great software that we have put in place. We have a really good app development team. We also have a really good community as well on this app. We have a social media aspect where the community will talk to each other. They'll help each other. They'll show off their rigs. They'll show off.
Oh man, that's great.
Yeah. So it's really cool.
So the app works like a battery monitor.
That is. Yep.
So your app is going to tell you everything that's happening. The only thing I want out of my battery monitor is I want it to tell me how much longer I have power running everything I'm running right now.
It will tell you real-time data, just like that.
If it just tells me that, I really don't care about the rest of it.
Yep.
I do not have an engineer brain. I don't care what the charging rate is. I don't care any of that. How long do I have left?
Of course. And
That's all I want to know.
that's what we integrated. I mean, we wanted to make sure we're not falling behind. It's a very innovative market, especially
Yes.
with solar. And we wanted to make sure we listen to our customer base, listen to our dealers, listen to our installers. So we integrated a lot of those inputs into our products, especially with our newest Rigo line. And it just really is above and beyond. It makes the end user's life a lot easier, the installer's life a lot easier, troubleshooting a lot easier. So we just want to make sure it's not brain surgery or science for, somebody that's just trying to go camp and be off the grid. The science is there. We want to make sure that we are just providing the correct kits and at the same time providing the correct information.
Okay, so I just need that app to tell me how long I can stay off the grid and I can understand it and I'm good, right?
100%.
Okay, so I'm going to get a drill.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to get a couple of screws
Okay.
and I'm going to order a kit and I'm going to call you and say, all right, what do I do first?
We'll be ready for that call.
Whoa.
So here's a question for you to follow up on this then. So y'all've made your bread and butter with DIYers.
Yeah.
So what is the advantage for a customer to go to a dealer?
There's huge advantages of going to a dealer. One thing is we actually put together really good warranty policies with our dealer partners. So you're going to get an extended warranty. Our typical lithium batteries have a 5-year manufacturer warranty. So if anything happens, give us a call. We're going to swap it out. That's just directly if you're buying it off our website. If you're coming to one of our dealers, going to Princess Craft, you're actually going to get double the warranty. You're going to get 10 years. You're going to get the support, you're going to get hands-on, and you're going to know someone that knows what they're doing is installing it professionally. So there's huge advantages of going to a dealer.
Wow.
Okay.
I didn't know that. Good question, Cody.
That is a great question.
I learned that today.
Whoa, looky there. All right, guys, what questions have we not asked that you hear all the time? Because I think I am questioned out.
I mean, I think you hit kind of the basics and what we hear a lot. The main thing is there's just a misconception of what solar does. It's if you have a solar panel, you're not going to be able to run everything that you have in your rig in your trailer. What it's doing is it's another charging source. It's going to charge the battery.
Sure.
If you understand how much it's charging and how much you're discharging that battery, you're going to be able to utilize that system appropriately and how it was designed to work. If you're trying to do something that's above and what it can't do, you're not going to be happy and the system's not going to work how you want it. So
that's the number one question that we get. Yep. What will this solar panel run? Nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
It doesn't run anything.
That is correct.
It simply charges your battery. Yep. That's all it does.
I have a real life story. When I bought my last trailer, it had a solar panel on it. And it was before I was in the industry and I really didn't know much about solar. And I went to a dealership and the guy goes, you know what? This thing's got solar on it. It's going to run your refrigerator. It's going to run your lights. You're going to be able to dry camp all you want, not to have to worry about anything. Guess what happened the very next day when I went out camping?
Dead battery.
Nothing worked. It was all gone. It had a little basic 100 amp hour lead acid battery that they gave me at the dealership. And I couldn't camp the way that they expected me to, or the way that I expected it. It's the whole...
Very common,
Yes.
And you got the new guy, apparently, it sounds like.
Exactly. They got a hold of me. It's the whole overpromise, underdeliver thing. And I think that's the most... To me, with solar, that's the thing that I see. I see more people overpromising and under-delivering. And the fact that we can help, and especially at the dealer level, dealing with the RV dealers and such, they're more in tune to knowing what the system actually does. And they're not going to. So if they understand how long or how much battery I need, how many solar panels I need to recharge my batteries, that's the benefit.
And you do have different levels of product, different sizes, different amp hours. I know that you had mentioned that lithium batteries don't take a charge when it's below freezing.
Yep.
However, do you have batteries with heaters on them?
Yep. All of our... Yeah.
So we didn't mention that. You've got to get the right battery with a heating system.
That's correct.
But maybe you don't need it if it's under the bed in your trailer because it's not going to get below freezing there when you're camping.
Let's hope not.
Yeah. I don't know. I've talked to some campers that like to do some crazy camping. So.
Yeah, okay. For most campers,
99% of campers, yes, that is correct. I'm not one of those campers.
I'm not one of those guys either.
No.
So is Renogy rolling out anything new that people haven't seen?
there will be some new technologies that are coming along. And I know exactly where you're going with this, by the way.
I'm not going anywhere.
Are you able to talk about it yet?
No.
Okay. Well,
No.
good question. We're getting a
That's a
non-answer.
teaser. That's a teaser for the next one.
Yes, that is
All
definitely
right.
a
That's like
teaser.
an episode in a series, right?
Yeah.
That is a stay tuned.
There is definitely stay tuned on that one because there are some really exciting things going on.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. I love exciting. Well, guys, thanks so much for taking the time to chat with us. I know you've had a very long day and you flew out here to hang out with us.
Absolutely.
We appreciate it. And now you've educated a whole lot more people than just us.
We appreciate the invite.
Yep.
Glad we could come.
Thank you very much.
All right. We'll see you
Yes.
next time, right?
Awesome. Thank you guys.
All right. Thanks, guys.